So more Shen content. I actually was really worried at one point in the chapter. There was one point that actually got me a little nervous for his character. So like it starts out, we're seeing a flashback. We got the rulings that Shen decided to put up with in order to train under this guy. He said that he wanted to have his sister funded to go to school. He needed somewhere for him and his sister to sleep, and they wanted 3 meals a day. Pretty basic. The only thing like outside obviously is him wanting his sister to get funded. But we know that Shen's whole thing was, protecting his sister and keeping his sister safe, so makes sense to his character. The rest are just like the basic things that he needed on top of, wanting to get strong, because he even says like, at this age that he wanted to be the strongest in all of creation. He just wanted to be the super martial artist. And I don't know how well it's gonna go for him in the long run, really, because like when it comes to this series, like a lot of the big people have really crazy powers, and his is good. It has like a good trick to it of switching people up on moves and whatnot, but all somebody has to do is run into like a better hacks, and then he's kind of screwed. Like in all reality, Andy and Victor have a way better ability than him. His is good. I'm wondering if there's more to it, whether it's just like he negates the action of a person, or if there's, if this is it, or if there's extra layers to it. Something that would really just get into like broken territory. But he's talking about his ability. We're getting it narrated really from the standpoint of the reader, and one of the things about it is it's like the better of a fighter someone is, like more seasoned of a fighter, then it doesn't work as well. Like when it comes to just somebody who's got way more experience, way more going on for them, then you don't really have what exactly it's gonna result out to as useful as it would just like your general person. But while he's fighting this guy, then the flashback, the bigger things, like, because most of the stuff was about this chapter besides the flashback was just some fighting choreography. I thought that was cool. He's like sending his like corpse martial artist over to fight Shen. Shen just doing moves to get through it. And then you see this dude do like this really cool move, and what is it called, like Mountain Strike, and it just goes, flips in, and then just smacks Shen away. And there was a point in the flashback where it was like Shen talking to his sister, and she's covered in like bruises and like got into a fight, and he ends up wanting to teach her martial arts as well. And in the flashback, there's this whole point where she's actually shown to be really skilled herself. She does a technique, and you see this massive crater, and Shen's confusion in that flashback has me very curious. Like, is it a worried about his sister thing? Because obviously if she's got this talent and strength, then, if he's smart enough, he's going to know that's going to get her into some trouble and get her into some risky situations. Whereas, like, there's also the possibility, is he jealous, or is, like, he upset that she has talent too? I don't really know. Like, we don't see a ton of it. Like, it's still very early in the flashback. But we're going to be getting more in the next couple chapters. I'm really hoping we can see more about it. Like, there was a statement from the older disciple for Shen. It's like, oh no, you're seriously planning on making them kill each other? And that's when the master dude just kills that guy and ends up gaining his control. Like, you can see the dude's soul like go into that bead that's on his wrist. You see all the blood clearly out his back. The dude's dead. And I can make out like what I think is going to happen, and like, okay, he's got he had Shen maybe kill his sister in order to this, or maybe manipulate it in some way. Maybe he had a cast Shen out and then take his sister to train after that. I'm wondering how he got young. That's obviously the twist at the end that was like the reveal for him, because in the flashbacks when Shen is a kid, this dude's an old man, and now here he's probably looking in his mid-20s or something, gained all the color back and his hair lost all his wrinkles. I was actually more worried this, because when the whole stuff was about his master, I was like, okay, then this shrouded dude, this hooded guy, is probably his master somehow. But at the point where I saw his sister had talent too, I was like, man, I'm going to be really saddened if this is actually his sister, and his sister's really the villain here. Now there's the possibility he's going to end up summoning like a corpse zombie of his sister. That's more of the straightforward thing that I'm expecting. If this was actually like his sister, like if his sister's a villain, I think that'll be a way more interesting twist for Shen personally, rather than him having to like fight again the corpse of his sister. But we'll see. I mean, both of those things can result in some really interesting character stuff, because at the end of the day, this character content for Shen is the important stuff here, because this is a Shen flashback. This is all like a very Shen-centered point in the story. And I'm actually really happy about that. I've mentioned I like Shen. Undead Unluck is a really solid cast so far. The only thing right now is just when are we going to get to see more characters cycled in and see more of them? Like, I already like Tatiana's character and stuff. Juiz is pretty cool. You know, obviously Andy and Victor. Shen has been the one that's gotten really probably the most, besides Juiz, out of like the main cast people. Like, he's had, you know, he was at the start. He's had a couple extra chunks and the stuff with the spoil. And then obviously what's going on now. The only thing we didn't have is the flashback. We got that with Tatiana in her first arc, but nothing with Shen. And now we're seeing it with Shen. The stuff with his sister is the most intriguing thing to me, because the fact that she had her own talent, her own skills. I'm hoping that it's not just that she's a corpse and he's got to fight her. I'm hoping that she is a character relevant still. Like, she's not gonna, like, our character story doesn't end with her being a zombie. Like, if she is a zombie, maybe she comes back to life somehow and becomes an adversary for Shen, but I don't really know. Because if this is just like his enemy and his mentor, like, I think it'll go more of a story of like revenge and surpassing him, which is still cool, and like surpassing him makes sense with Shen's whole wanting to be the strongest in creation, you know, storyline. But I think it would be a much more conflicting storyline if his sister was on the enemy side instead. But we'll see. I mean, anything can happen. Chapters aren't out, obviously, for another 6 days. Undead Unluck isn't one of those ones that's popular enough in the West to get spoilers, so unless I really dug deep into trying to find spoilers, I don't think I would find any. Other than that, like, it was a really solid chapter. I think it had a very high reread level of value to it, just from the flashbacks into Shen and Shen's sister. Again, the value of that can increase dramatically if Shen's sister is still alive, because then, you know, you're gonna have to we're gonna have to look at some points that I completely fumbled over my wording on that. We're gonna be able to look at certain scenes and be wording and then figure out aspects of maybe her fighting style, maybe see like interactions with Shen and see like parallels of them later, and just how exactly it's gonna be. Like, if Shen ends up meeting his sister again and fighting her under like the full moon, knowing that's when he started training her, you know, you can have some nice symbolism there in his character, you know, one of those where it starts and where it ends. I'm really interested in the whole point where he's kind of astonished that his sister did that technique. What is it called? Tetsu Zanko or whatever. Primarily from the fact that, like, is he worried about her? Like, again, the fact that she's strong, there's the worry that, you know, his master could end up trying to recruit her as well. Obviously, that's part of what happened. But also, is he just worried that he might have to fight her one day? Because if he wants to be, you know, the strongest in creation, he's apparently like part of some chosen special, like, gene pool. Like, the guy calls him a dragon, and when he sees the strength of his sister, he's like, oh, so there was a second dragon. So if he's, you know, destined for greatness, I would assume with that title his sister is as well, but we'll see. Either way, like, there's big potential in the future of where things are to go. I'm looking forward to seeing where this is. I'm fine with either, but I would definitely prefer his sister as an antagonist route. But anyway, other than that, comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this chapter, and tell me your thoughts about what's going on in Undead Unluck. Again, it was a fast read chapter, but it was one that I can go through a couple times to get the full value out of, just because it's way more of a, you know, character-specific event rather than just like, okay, stuff's going along, we're moving from place to place, talking from character A to B, or like a fight chapter. This was way more of a character content chapter with some fighting in it, which was cool. But anyway, other than that, I'll comment below, thumbs up the video, before the like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. Other than that, appreciate everybody's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.